So one of the many questions that Westworld tackles is just what makes us human. I think in this episode we got such a great contrast between two hosts, two androids, one that has humanity and is slowly developing humanity, and one that doesn't have an ounce of humanity. Now, if you think of what makes us human, some people might say, well, it's rationality. There's that famous quote, man is a rational animal. But I think this episode just drives home the point that it's the complete opposite. It's precisely our irrationality that makes us human, and our ability and our desire to believe things that aren't true, to base our whole lives around things that aren't true. So Maeve's quest to find her daughter, it doesn't make rational sense. It's precisely that irrationality that makes it so endearing and makes it so compelling. And you see in Maeve someone who has compassion, who has empathy, and then you compare it to Delores, who just this single-minded quest for revenge, world domination, complete freedom, whatever it is. You just see how with her it's all about rationality. She goes to this place that is her home, has significance, but technically it's not really a home. It was more a prison, and that's all she can see it as. She looks at Teddy and any kind of feelings of love, the fact that she knows technically those aren't true, and technically those were programmed into her, lead her to just reject all those and only see Teddy in terms of a weapon, in terms of a loyal soldier and a follower. So it's just so interesting how we see these two different androids with such different views of the world. And I think for most people it's pretty clear which one you're going to empathize with, which one you're going to feel is most human. But as I should point out, not everyone sees it that way. And Teddy, when you see his interactions, Teddy's always been a tragic character, but his interactions with Delores this episode, so tough to watch, just how delusional he is about her, her true nature, her feelings towards him, what their future's going to be. He doesn't get it, but it's so necessary because so many people watching Delores throughout the show and people interacting with artificial intelligence in general, they aren't able to see it for what it actually is, and they get fooled so easily by our perceptions and what we perceive. And in season one of the things people criticized was they said it was unrealistic how Felix and Sylvester, but Felix in particular, would help Maeve escape. And they would say, well, of course, it's dangerous to let a very powerful robot just roam free like this. Why would Felix do this and endanger all of humanity? It's so unrealistic. But it's not unrealistic at all, because Westworld, they try to drive home 2 points. One, there's the mistreatment of artificial intelligence and robots at the hand of humans. But the flip side is there's also the humans who they see these lifelike robots and they don't see robots. They don't see potential threats. All they see is an oppressed group of people that they want to free, or they see a love interest, someone who they fall in love with. And it's precisely this combination of factors. One, the mistreatment that would lead to the desire of robots to get a kind of revenge. And then two, the people with really good hearts that just can't see the danger for what it is. And all they see is that, well, they see us. And we get those quotes about reflection and how robots are just kind of a reflection of us. And in some ways, that's what we see. And in some ways, we do put some of the worst qualities of humans. When we create robots, we would put in those worst qualities, but also some of the best qualities of humans, we see those qualities in the robots when they're not there at all. And sometimes you feel like, God, Teddy, it's just so tough to watch him just continue to not get it and not see what's right in front of his eyes. But that's one of the major themes that the show is trying to drive home. Understand that if we did create artificial intelligence and there was a race of robots that was trying to take over, they wouldn't act like ruthless robots that are going to supplant us. No, they would study what do we find sympathy for, and what kind of creatures do we feel the most feeling towards, and then they would just act and mimic that. And the race of robots that would supplant us, they wouldn't appear to be conquerors. They would appear to be victims, and they would stimulate all our most protective feelings, and they would use those feelings against us. And there's that famous quote, if the devil existed, he'd want us to feel very sorry for him. The idea that the devil, if you want to look at what are the people that are the most evil and the most unlike us, they're going to pretend to be the most like us, and they're going to use the people that don't have these emotions that people have, these feelings of compassion, empathy, the people that don't have these things, they're going to pretend to have these things. And then the other thing I really want to talk about this episode, we see different worlds, but we see that these worlds, there's the same characters that make up each of them, and just different characters in the different worlds, but they're playing the same fundamental roles. And for some people, they look at that and they don't like it. They see it as, and they say, whoever created that, whoever would create a world with this kind of duplication, these kind of similarities between different people, it's kind of lazy. And they would think that every single person, every single creature in the world should be completely unique, completely special, and that would be a beautiful world. But for other people, they would see that kind of repetition as kind of an elegance and a kind of a beauty. And if they were thinking, what kind of world would they like to live in? They would like a world where there's so much diversity and variation, but they're built up from these fundamental building blocks. And yes, there's so many different people populating the world, but there's a few fundamental archetypes that all these other people are derived from. And the fact that you might go to another place and see someone else that has all these similarities to you and deep down at a core essence at level is similar to you, that doesn't make you feel less special. That gives you a kind of comfort, a kind of familiarity, and a kind of desire that wherever you go, you're kind of at home. So I love another big theme of Westworld, not just what makes us human, but is this kind of idea of creation, this kind of idea of creating whole worlds, and what kind of world are you going to create?